What's going on? Like the title says, content and trolling. Let me get this off my mind. Well, okay. Let's start with content. Okay. Content, what they like to call it now, are content creators or videos and things like that. If you make solid content, well, if you build your channel from scratch like I did, even though I started out like, I think the first YouTube is like a guru and things like that, that's content, right? Because when I first started out, it was 2007, my old channel. But I didn't turn into a content creator when I started doing copyright stuff. This is before they restrict stuff on YouTube. They kind of changed it somewhere around, I think later on in the years, because '08 they let us get away with that. Until this, I'm talking about my old channel now, and it was flagged according to 2012, and this is like my second channel, so I got away from that. I didn't start making the switch somewhere around 2000. I think somewhere around 2011-ish. 2010 I was on there, but 2011-ish, close to 2012, I made a dramatic switch because I thought the content was going to be solid, right? And depends on who you are. Most people make switches of what their persona is going to be. Because back then, they had these little things called, like, if you was like a music person or a guru, like of many talents, and then the politics. I remember when they had groups. Groups was something back then. People used to talk on the groups. You post your videos and things like that. I remember the broadcasting era. I remember that type of content. Yeah, 10-minute videos, and they started adding what you call it. I'll say 15 minutes to an hour later on in YouTube years. But the new format got crazy somewhere around 2012. I didn't like the adjustments, but when I lost my first channel over some bullshit, I realized I did something right, but at the time I didn't want to lose it because I had a lot of good stuff on there. Because I was trying to change it to something else at the time. Made a mistake. I took a risk. But when I made this channel, I was gonna stick to it. But over time, I just used it at the time when I was into, and I think I was like mostly red pill at this time. Yeah, I was. I was. Then the historical stuff, that was something I was into. Those were the only two things I had, and I think I changed it from there from 2013. I think that was a big leap. And then 2000 and I would say 13 from 14, I stuck to that. Then I left it somewhere around that year, but I took a 5 to 6 year hiatus and came back in 2001 because those years, I think like 15 from, I'll say 2020, from 2020 when my comeback, in January when I made a pre-record, that's when I started going with the esoteric stuff thanks to BGS because I was watching him the whole year last year. His old live streams, the Black Pill stuff and the esoteric stuff, knew what it was. Because back then I was on the blue and red pill stuff. If you watched the Matrix years ago, because back then we just talked about that, and even certain spaces talked about it, but not as much in the 1.0 era because we was focused on careers and shit. Because back then we was on the message, so that was the content I was on in 2012. But after that, I had to build off on that. But then again, the hiatus was good because I watched my views and subscribers went up over time. That's how I built my content. They watched my old shit when I was in the history and the historical stuff. That's what people subscribe to. But somewhere around 2019, I started getting 1,000 subscribers. That's when the numbers went crazy, right? That's how I got my 1,000. Just plain old content. And then the next year after that, when COVID hit, I was still getting numbers, still getting subscriptions. But when people start doing live streams in the chat, I'm gonna tell this again. I was dapping niggas up before I was on panels, and when I became a panelist, people start subscribing stuff there. There's a bunch of people. It's a handful of shit. I was up and down with it. Last year was something else. I think from Wackies, I would say from Brain Trust, mixed to other individuals. I would say the next year, oh, it was terrible. The Zero incident, that's what made it big. And then the split happened. Then I met Kuda in March, enjoyed that from the third shift until now. Well, today's June. I'll say March is 1. About 3 months. 3 months later, right now, this is June. The early part of June, a lot of people think it's summer, but technically it's in the spring because June 20th will be officially summer when it gets hot. I mean, it's warm right now. Here it's in the 80s right now, but wait till it gets like 90 to the hundreds. Yeah. Hot part, late spring to the summer, midway, What's going on, Queen? Those years is fun, but after that, going his content, I would say like from March, dealing with him, the third shift. And I think I saw his feed. The first time I was on his third shift, I'll never forget, March 2nd, that incident happened. His channel was in my feed. I learned a lot about the content that he was doing because he had a lot of good stuff back then. I missed out on 2020 because 2020 I was on some other shit. I was focused on me. I stayed on politics way too much. I'll say domestic politics, but I blame certain content creators for that. BGS wasn't. He was on esoteric and both of that. But what I've learned on the other side, I dealt with more of it. I think probably the whole year. The election. It was rough. This was the election here in Georgia too. The Senate race and the governor race. Not governor race, the Senate race, I mean. You had Ossoff and everything else. What's going on, man? Yeah, man. It's just what it is, man. Because back then it was really something. Because at that time, I'm just started seeing for what it is. Like that was like hard for me that year. That year was something else. When you talk about content, it's just really I was on. Because at the time, I didn't think I was going to ever live stream that year because I was doing pre-records and things like that. But I came back the next year in January and I focused because I thought March was going to be, if I stuck with pre-records and things like that or doing this type of thing, the self-live stream. I thought about this too back in January of this year. Because January was fun. It was quiet. It was cold. I thought about this too. February I did. I think I did a few in February, I believe. I didn't officially start doing self live streams. I would say like April, and then I did the panels later on. And then May was fun. Last month was fun. This one will be a lot of fun as well too, because I have one scheduled tomorrow. I'm gonna get in touch with the Sapio thing. I'm gonna break that down. I'm gonna make a part 2 to that or 3. See what more information I'm gonna bring on, and that's the concept I'm gonna bring because I want to do something like I did in my previous last year, what I learned last year, and then get on certain topics. What has helped us to move forward? See, I enjoyed yesterday with Go Profess with his little live stream. I was just passing through. I think Ramil had a stream, and I think Kuda told me he fell asleep on that live stream. I said, "Thank God I missed that." They was talking a bunch of nonsense. But today, they was talking to this Book of Romany guy. His content was based on thing. Oh, not a problem. DS1 salute. Yeah, and I think it's great, man. I think it's great. And shouts out to you what you did about that young kid. I talked about the suicide thing yesterday, and it's common what he said in his recent. It's very common. I wish Joy the best. I talked to the panelists yesterday. He was going through something, and he grew up in a rough environment. I think me and Kuda talked about it. I told him about it on the third shift this morning. I said, Shouts out to Gold Professor, man. He said it was 3 age groups of men. He said, he was in his 50s, I was in my 30s, I'm 33, and the boy was going on 23, right? The age difference. He said, like, different types of uncles. So, yeah. Yeah, he was, Gabe. He was very hilarious. I appreciate you. All right, peace, Padot. And yeah, man, I mean, I appreciate Go Professor talking about it. I really appreciate what he was saying to me yesterday because I really enjoyed that live stream. Even though I was in the chat in Ramil's yesterday, they was talking about a bunch of silly stuff yesterday. I want to expound on why we do content, but then I won't get to the trolling part later because tell you not to do what not to do in trolling because trolling over the years has changed. I heard that word somewhere around 2009. I'm gonna break that down because it reflects back to my old days and other social networks, social media. I'm gonna break that down. I'm gonna go in on that one. We're gonna talk about content first. Content is what you make it. You know, if you make solid content, you're gonna be something and be there. I think content determines who you are and make you or break you. Because what I've learned from my first channel, I didn't know what to do with it. I was in the copyright era. I had to transition out of it. Um, Doing this stuff right here on this channel, I keep it consistent as I can, but I stick concise because I'm trying to see what's going on in these spaces. But when you have a format doing self live streams, pre-records, and panels is new. It only gets better from here on out. But yeah, last year I was self-reflecting. I was trying to see what it was. Yeah, that too, Gabe. I'm gonna get into that. I'm gonna break that down because it's levels to it. There is levels to content. It depends on what you do. Because I remember pre-records was the thing back then. I'm 33 right now because now you gotta do self live streams and panels. That's the thing now. Then you gotta be more inviting now. Zero said something special to certain effect of Teapot on his interview, and this relates to Gold Professor, what his content is about. He's a no nonsense type guy, and ain't nobody talking over each other. Kind of like what Wacky does and myself a little bit. You're going to see that a little bit more often, but you got some people just nonchalant and just don't care. I think that's a great way to start off being good. I learned it from the best too. But then again, you start figuring out what's going on. I really appreciate when you have certain individuals like that. I think what I saw Ramils today, you know, they was talking about the little game stuff. I think that's just a step up. It's a great conversation with Gay and BOA had, you know, but then the suicide thing what DS1 was saying about the boy, it relates to the boy that I was talking to that struggled when he said his mother was a prostitute. And he said the W word trying to say harlot or whore in the scriptures, right? And I said to him, I've heard those stories before in my family side, on both sides, on my mother and father's side, and I had friends that went through that in single parent home. I grew up in the 2-parent household, right? I was not exempt from that in a small town. Drugs was running rampant. I had two choices before I moved to Georgia or somewhere in the city of Atlanta. I had two choices. If I was going to take that lifestyle, go to the graveyard like the boy did off himself like that. I had many choices like on that side. Then the other choices are, do I want to strive to take the hard road, just be successful and wherever I do in life to try to be better and make others around good. So I chose the hard way. I took the risk route, the real hard risk, not the short, easy risk like most people take and die in the ground somewhere. Because that lifestyle don't get you nowhere but the ground. And I ain't supposed to be here today because certain individuals that I used to hang with when I was younger, that could have been me. So I dodged a lot of bullets back then. So back then I wasn't really in my right mind, even though I had a little red pill raging it in my teen years. But in my 20s, I kind of dabbled with the antidepressants at 18, got off of it at 23 because I had a real awakening then. And my second challenge I just went skyrocket with views then. And then I think I did the job thing for like 2 years and exploded on that. Fell into the black pill mind state, but thanks to BGS, I understand that there's more than life than just talking about one side. He mentioned nihilism a little bit, but that last black pill video, the Owlman and Batman, when I got those two terms, nihilism and utilitarianism, he broke it down with the two characteristics of the black pill. He didn't expound on it, but I think he will in the near future. I might jab that in there. But he always mentioned those two arguments. So the other black pill groups you see online, they're not really black pill. They're mostly blue pill. They're lost. They failed. Talking about the incels, particularly in vocels, those are the ones that failed. Now, if you're really black pill, it's really enlightenment. That's why I'm gonna leave it there, because it is what it is. But then you have another side that ain't like that. It's you're trying to maximize your happiness. That's why I did those topics. Thanks to his last video. That's what I'm basing that on. I'm done with that. You know, that's my perspective of black pill. It's mostly enlightenment at this point, because you're looking for how you gonna make yourself better, how you can accept others. That young man that killed himself, I mean, what's his name? Little Loaded. He's like every young man that's struggling in these inner cities, and I would say small towns and inner cities that go through something. Because in this era, you're dealing with a whole lot of tech and huge content that's mind controlling, mind fuck and controlling. And I'll tell you that. When you're dealing with massive media and power, when you're dealing with people that's coming at you all angles at that age, because he was 20, right? And the boy I talked to was like going on 23. Thank goodness that he's still here, because I talked to him on Gold Peace, and I salute him. We'll speak again and try to give him to understand it's more than life to just chasing women. I mean, it's okay to have a relationship or a family. I kind of somewhat support that. You know, I ain't trying to be like a nihilist, say don't have a relationship. I'm trying to be fair, because I don't know, because it can happen to any of us. You know, someday that's something in the back of my mind, you know, but it ain't for everybody, you know. But for me, I can say this: if I do want one, I'm gonna be sound and be honest, you know, as I can. I know it ain't gonna be easy, because I see my parents; they almost approaching 40 some years of marriage. So I look at them as an example. That's the only thing I could say on that point, you know. And that's just, I think relationships is not bad. I don't talk about it on this channel because that's something I ain't been there yet. But if I ever do, um, I'll mention it a few times on other panels, but on this channel, I'm just trying to focus on the knowledge on this point. But the relationship is good to learn. I mean, me and Ty City, we don't speak on it, for one, because I know it means money and all that stuff. But you know, you gotta take that risk though. It's a gamble. But I think most men want a relationship. I've noticed in this space, when I subscribe to Roger, they want uh, a real relationship. These dudes want to get married. You know, I didn't clown what's his name, Boyce Watkins. I didn't clown him because I know they've been clowning him for years, but good for him, you know. Him, what you call it, ARC, a few other guys. I mean, that's life, man. If you want to get married at 60 or 50, I mean, good for you. I know most men don't want to. They'd rather be married in my age. I had my chance in my 20s, so I'm trying to find out, do I want that or not, you know? But I look at it like this. It's just like what Kuda said, everybody's got your number, you know? You just got to be patient, and you're gonna get there. So I just take his little advice. I said, yeah, it can happen to any of us, man. You ain't above approach. So I'm just open it right now. So I'm not saying I'm currently looking, but I'll get there. So, you know, it's just one step at a time when I look at relationships. I don't speak on it that much, but I'm okay with that advice for others, you know. But I think I was on Go Professor. He touched something that the young man was going through. I dealt with his moms. And he knew his mom's was a piece of, you know, piece of shit, right? But one thing I like about his honesty, though, how he grew up, even though he grew up in Philly, right? Rough place, right? He had to survive that. And I salute to him yesterday, and I salute to him again today. I appreciate a young zillennial, a young man. I know he's a kid, but he's a young man coming to another young dude, but a little older than he is, like I was his big bro, right? I appreciate dudes like him. See, he is gonna be all right. In my eyes, he's gonna make it. He's gonna make it. I can tell he'll be all right. Just don't be nihilistic and dangerous. Don't be destructive. Destructive is it's so easy. If you study the Joker was a nihilist. He didn't care. He was in a burning building. He'd take people with him because Joker represents what a nihilist is. He's very nihilistic. Um,
Nihilism has some good levels and bad, but as an ideology, you got to be extremely careful if you're really about that. Because when you get a little older or extreme, like kind of like the Joker in certain movies and certain stories, nihilists don't live forever. If you study those philosophers that I've been teaching on this channel, they go way extreme. Some of them don't believe in their own doctrine, but you do have some like a Max Stirner. His doctrine is basically far left stuff. That's some scary shit. What he was on. He's a German as well. Him and that Frederick guy. It's a lot. And there's a woman that's a nihilist too. I think she's from India. And they have a lot of philosophers, man. Like you gotta be careful with those books. I mean, they're good books to read, but as a nihilist, man, it's very common in this world because they preach it way too much, especially certain parts of the manosphere. Now, BGS throws it off like he's a nihilist, but I don't think he is because I think he preaches the utilitarian sometimes. He'll fake nihilist in your face sometimes, but his followers, me personally, I think his followers are a bunch of nihilists sometimes. I really think they are. And then they don't realize that he's more utilitarian also. He's happy where he's at. He already had his kids and his grandkids. His grandfather, he always mentions his grandson. So right there, it's kind of tricky. And guess why he made that last Black Pill video? And it makes sense who he is. He mentioned a few times in his videos and then he dropped little jewels there and there. But you got a lot of them in the 2.0 space and 3.0 space. You got a bunch of nihilists running around that's reckless and don't believe in relationships and family. And part of that, if you look at it esoterically, um, there's some ploy to it. It's in politics. It's very destructive. You know, I think a lot of people gotta be careful when you preach nihilism because nihilism it's very destructive. It revolves around nothingness, and then you got a lot of them deal with the suicide thing. Because I don't want to say the boy was a nihilist because I don't know little Loaded. It's a shame that he passed away. The young man passed away. Rest in peace to him. Shouts out to DS1 with that blessing video, and you got to look at it what it is, man. It's deep. Okay, I sent you a note on your community tab wall. And BJS isn't a true nihilist. He just doesn't sell hopium. Many of his peeps are scary though, but yeah, that's what I mean, Padot, because I think BGS is fair-minded, you know, but when you listen to him enough and his content, I understand where he's coming from. His followers don't get it. When he does the Black Pill stuff, like he tries to be very careful because sometimes his followers trying to argue him, which is red on pounds. They try to trip him up, and I kind of laugh because this man done did everything in society. He had a family. I think he was divorced 3 times, but you know he showed you who he was. I ain't saying it's failed, but at least he did something. He made the attempt. But every man's not gonna be like him. You know what I mean? Because every man has their own path. But when I look at my father's marriage, it lasts long. He's an older boomer, right? Even though my parents on decent terms, but you know, but they're approaching 40 some years of anniversary. You know, it's a little weird half the times. It ain't easy, but see, it depends on how long they last when they live on this earth. You know, because my mom's parents had a 40-year marriage, and they end up dying later on. So you know how that goes. And it was a 10-year difference. One was from the World War II, and one was from the silent generation. So yeah, that's what I mean by content. Um, Like you hear content like that in the manosphere. I've noticed that nihilism is always preached from the 2.0 side and others and various other people. That is, it gets very dangerous. But you know, but that's what we got to look at. But then here comes the trolling part. Okay, trolling is levels to it. I mean, doxing is a form of hacking. I know that word. A lot of people think it's trolling. No, it's a form of hacking. You hack people's personal information. It's illegal and it's very illegal. What's going on, G's? When you hack someone's information, you kind of expose that person. It's kind of like when you see people when they get famous and things like that. But now on a small level, it's a big deal. Um, but these companies won't protect you if you get doxxed. That's the thing. People end up getting killed over it. You got some people survive, or just what did Brother X said on the Teapot one interview in Zero. He said they do it for attention. It's like misery loves company, and that's what it is. And 9 out of 10, that's what trolling is. So sometimes you don't want to feed the troll, because the trolls, they're gonna always live on the internet. Before they call it troll, they called it something else back then. But I believe somewhere around 2009, when I heard that term when I was 21 on another social network, and I was in a live chat, not a live chat. I was in the chat. It was a little live. And this is before they had live TV and all that stuff. It was called Moco Space. I went to every live chat that represent locations, regions, your style of chat. We had comedy, we had all that stuff, drama, talk about a lot of stuff, music. They had a room called Near Me. They had the alphabet rooms, like the same sexual rooms. They had all that. It was huge back in 09. See, 07 was brand new, but 2009, I was in those chats. And my ex-girlfriend recommend me the social network back then. I was 21 at the time. I was 20 at the time. I would say joining it somewhere around February of 2009, going on 21. And I stuck that site for like a long time. I met a lot of females off there who was just chat, you know. And I think over time, when I broke up with her around May, when I just turned 21. So that was like years ago. And I'm telling you the story, like trolling is like an art form, because some people troll with all types of ways, like the small insults, the name flipping like I used to do. But some people resort into the hacking thing. That's when technology got huge back in 2012. And that's when people started hacking, which they call doxing today, like the videos and information. Because what I hate to tell y'all, Google is selling big data. Data is their money. They don't care about the AdSense and monetization. The reason why they take 30% because they're selling data as well. They're making big money off of it. And that's why you see a lot of people get traumatized. And some of the suicide rates you see, some comes from doxing, come from anything. We're in this new age, trolling is all-time high. You got some people troll, and some people, it calls them like suicide and things like that. But trolling's an art. I think trolling is it's extreme now, like when I was used to it, because we was being nice back then. But today's trolling is kind of reckless now. Since we got live chats and panels, people could switch icons if they want to. So what I do if I troll, I soft troll. I just name flip. Like certain individuals I have issues with, the characters, but everybody else does it different. I don't do the doxing. I don't do that. Definitely don't do that. And I don't respect that on channel either. But I'm just saying, that is a form of hacking. Because when you have a lot of hackers, I will say, why? When I hear that word, that's a computer term too. A lot of people get upset about the word itself, but they have to understand that's people hacking your information, and people get hurt by it, scarred by it. But trolling takes the brunt of it. I think Beasley made Complex Design mad. He got him so mad, and I think Art New Style had a string called Disagreements or something like that, and got him amped up. And I think I talked about it on a live stream. Yeah, I did. Got him so amped up, got him so angry, and they live for that too. They live off not just anger, but they live off despair. They enjoy that. That's a thrill. Because when you talk about it long enough, it's gonna get more clicks and likes and whatever. See, what you see in Ramil, you have a balance of the two. You have content creators, you got trolls in there. But if he ever gets like up to like 30 to 40,000, you're gonna get way more trolls. But it's just like those big YouTubers, they get way more trolls and they start blocking them out of the chat. It's understandable, but it's more to it. That's what happens when you get fame off of this website. But YouTube's not the only one. It's Twitch. There's many others. MySpace is dead, but there's many others. Instagram. I would say Snapchat at once upon a time. They have all of it, man. You're not gonna stop it. They'll troll you from all angles, man. Even they pay to troll you, which is weird. I never do that. But you got people that's creative, man. And I don't think you're gonna get rid of it off the internet sites or whatever. Because when I heard that word, that was back in 09. And our generation invented that word because I thought trolls were nice. But what people is doing, that ain't trolling. That's being an ogre under a bridge, you know? It's doing damage. People, that's what I mean by the topic of, just trolling and content, the difference between the two, but there's levels to both of them because the longer you do these or content or any form of social media, social network, it gets huge. You're gonna get a lot of hate and a lot of flack. I've noticed that from big content creators, semi-big to big content creators. And I think I was listening to Angry Man. He said when he got a little bigger, he started getting way more trolls. So I understand why he blocks his chat. And Mr. Jap, same thing, And Kuda said he's ruthless on Facebook where he has to be. I mean, you get the hardcore uncut stuff. You got certain creators, that's what you follow. Patreon's like that too, but Patreon is not the wave. I'm gonna tell you that right now because Patreon it's not hitting with most people. Most people rather be on OF, which is sad. I laugh at time. I laughed at his shit. He does the same thing. But if you look at the big picture, that's coming to norm now. I mean, trolling has always, I hate to say that style of it or this new style has always existed. What's going on, she? It will never, the only way it's going to die if they create another internet or another policy to limit that. But you're still going to have people that's going to act silly. These young kids today are more physical now. They're killing each other. Suicides is up at an all-time high because the economy, COVID, relationships is sideways. I mean, you got way more therapists making money off of that as well. That's why I think the therapy is huge. Like I talked to that young man yesterday. I told him I recommend it for every Black man to go. If you're from those inner cities, you need that help, man, because they helped me. Thank goodness. I would say somewhere around 2006, from 2011, a 6-year span. I turned out all right, but I always had a red pill mindset because I had to look at the world differently. Now it was hard at first, and I had to be guided. That's what kept me grounded. But I had to understand, man, like that's what I had to do. And I'll never forget. And this channel kind of bridged the gap for me. Then I had to learn my own way to get a job, whatever. So I had to do what I had to do. Because back in those days, it was rough. I mean, I had fun making content, don't get me wrong, but it was rough on the other side, outside, off the internet. So these kids have it way easy, but they're still stressed out over the smallest things. And it's getting worse. That's this country. You be stressed overseas, and that's why it is. When I first started, I pissed of the TD Jakes people. They were quoting scriptures on my community wall, issuing against me. Religious people can be the worst, and it will scare. Yeah, they can be. They still are today. That's why a lot of these kids, I don't know if they grew up in a church now or in and out. That's why these young boys have problems if they were molested or they end up going suicide. I met a guy had the same name as me, and I think he lived in Georgia. And he had a YouTube video, and I saw it. And he said that movie was based off him. And he said he was molested when he was young in the church, and he had problems. And he confessed to me that happened to him. I said, man, I told him, man, that's fucked up, man. See, I grew up in the church too, but I didn't join the church until I was like in my late teens. I made a promise to my grandmother I was going to get baptized as a Christian. I left Christianity in 09. I'll tell you that right now. I left that in 09 at 21. Everything I did in 21, I was on that red pill path stuff years ago back in 03 when I lost my grandmother. See, Christianity wasn't even on my mind. That was just something I had to do. To me, they were still snobbish, but that religion was dead to me then. I gave it 2 years and it just didn't work for me. So I had to do something else. I didn't end up being an atheist though. That atheist shit didn't work for me either because I couldn't be one. I still believe in the Most High and serve him well and try to live my life right. That's the only thing I can do. But what I've learned, you're going to struggle a little bit. This is part of it. You don't cry about it. But you got a lot of atheists and a lot of, a lot of them can be nihilistic at times. Like I said, they support that because when I research nihilism, they do support that. Like I made streams about it. They will always support that because it's not a bad thing. I don't judge them because that's what they believe. It's hard to reason with an atheist and a religious person, and that's what it is. What's going on, Wacky? I left the so-called Christianity in 2006 once I woke up to my true. Yeah, same here, man. I left mine in 2009, man. That was a hell of a journey. It wasn't easy. I would say I didn't start to my heritage journey. I would say about 2011, around the time when before this channel was created. That's what this channel was based off on. My experience in my 20s and the hardship. Christianity was hell. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And they did a lot of sexual shit back then, like that guy was telling me when I was in the workplace. I told him, yeah, that's normal. And I'll tell you a secret. Those pastors that was cheating on these females or whatever, they used to get killed and shot and run up in the church. That was common where I'm from. I'm from Tennessee originally. And that was normal. I was telling this old Jamaican lady, she said, that's bad they do that. I tried to tell, man, you don't understand. That's normal. I know it's a form of hatred, but it's what his actions, what he does with other people. Even if he's a married pastor, whatever, and then his women, I'd say in the church is a bunch of whores or a bunch of harlots, man. That was common back then. And I always brag about it because knowing her trifling behind, I always tell those stories. Like, what's that got to do with, family structure, man? Because I had some fucked up people in my family. So I already know. We hear these stories all a lot. I had a pastor that had to get a gun because people try to kill him over something small. You know what I mean? Because that religion itself is tainted. You're going to have a lot of bad shit you're going to see. You're going to have former pimps and whores in there, but you also have people that do sleep around and cheat. But if the guy finds out you did it, he's going to bring a gun to the church, run up in the church. That's common. That's like that worldwide in America. No, I'm not from Memphis. I'm from a small town outside of Sumner County. You probably never heard of it. It's a small town. It's in the middle part of Tennessee. But I remember stories that people run up in the church with guns. If a pastor or whatever cheats, and it goes for white churches too, they used to bring guns and try to kill the pastor. And that was normal. I was telling this Jamaican lady, that's common where I come from. That ain't nothing new. Georgia's the same way. Because I moved to Georgia in 2007. I'm going to tell you a secret. That's very normal. I'm great. I'm great, Stingray. I'm great. I'm good. I'm just telling a story about my past when I used to be a Christian. I told those stories and I told this guy when I used to work when I was a barista, I told him, yeah, it's hell. Christianity is not fun. It's a dangerous period back then and still is now because you got a lot of kids thinking about suicide. They're not helping the kids with the suicide rates. Oh, okay, because based on what you were stating, it sounded like yeah, in a way, but the whole state's crazy, man. It ain't, Memphis is crazy. It ain't like what it is now because it's gentrified, but where I come from is crazy too, outside of Nashville. But Nashville is in Davidson, but Sumner, I'm from a place where it was named after a secretary guy named Albert Gallatin. It's part city, and then the north side's the hood. I'll give you an example. You got a lot of niggas that sold drugs. So it's like mixed between Milwaukee and everything else. But a lot of those people you see down there, they migrated those Midwestern states back in the day. Because I have cousins in Chicago and things like that. They know where it's at. So they know what I'm talking about. And a lot of those dudes that were related to up there, up in Michigan, whatever, they all come from the same state I come from. Some come from Mississippi, whatever. But that state itself is very violent. My dad always told me about the Nathan Bedford stories when I was a kid. When he went to a college called MTSU, that's in Murfreesboro. That's in Rutherford County. That's in the middle part of it. And they took down that statue of his too, the Blue Raider statue, the Klan Raider statue. Mr. Walker, President Walker, he was black, and they told him, I think he told the people, just take that down. I don't want to see black people looking at that going to school. I think that was his second year in college. He told my dad that. And he told me that story too. To this day, that school had a lot of racism too. It was known as the Blue Raiders. But back to the guy, I told him that's normal, man. That's a Southern thing. When you hear those stories in those states I'm talking about, that's very, very normal. That's why I kind of left Christianity in some degree, because I couldn't be no pastor, because I am the pastor's grandson, because my dad's father was a pastor, even though he's a World War II vet, and he had a best friend that had the Purple Heart with the foot blown off in Pearl Harbor. So he knew he was a good pastor. So yeah, that runs in my family. Anytime I hear about Christianity and things like that, and the churches and problems, I hear that in these spaces. I hear it outside these spaces. That's normal. Because see, religion was so bad for me back then, so I had to cut that shit off back in 09. That's my experience. But the manosphere kind of helped some of the things in the part of 1.0. I would say that I give them some credence to that, because today's manosphere is way esoteric and wild right now. What's going on? Perfect timing. Yeah, it's way crazier now. It's way crazier right now, because what I'm seeing right now, you just looking at it for what it is. But I don't see people changing anytime soon when they in those religions. They just don't help anybody. That was my experience. But what I've learned not to is not worry about them at all. I just look down on them at the end of the day, because they're nothing but controlled by the top. So it's big money, big business. And I told him that, like, just get away from it, man. Like, the better the therapy, you get some help on that. And I was telling this guy, if his mom was a prostitute, over when I was talking to Gold Professor on the panel, and I said, I wish him well. He was from Philly. It's awful, man. It was deep what he wrote, what DS1 was talking about in his video. And I had to look at that. I said, man, that's some awful shit. Thank goodness I survived in my 20s. I'm in my 30s, and I can tell you this stuff, because it ain't fun, man, especially on the internet. It's a real dark world. So I had to keep my head above water. A lot of people, so-called Christianity, to disguise their true colors, and I have relatives claiming to be Christians, yet are some of the most conniving, conniving people you'll meet. Yeah, I got that in my family as well. That's a bunch of them. I know people that I grew up with are the worst Christians in the world. They do a lot of sexual shit. They actually ran prostitution. I hate to say, when I was in church camp, I'll tell you a story. When I was in church camp, there was a lot of freaky stuff going on. I was 19 at the time. This is 2007. This is the height of it, right? And that's why I never understood what was so great about it. The first time, it was the lock-in, what we called it, right? I had two females that jump on top of me. I had a light skin and a dark skin, flirt me for no reason, right? I think my cousin was there. In a Christian like church. Some freaky stuff. With their faith, because in your mind it ain't right. No book is going to help you. Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's for some people, but it's what you believe. Okay, but as I was saying, but it's just wild. I think back at it now, that's some wild stuff they did. And I'll never forget. And I was telling this guy that was common, but the church cons got even worse. I had a girl chasing after me while I was doing a choir practice, but it was for an exercise in the summer, like a Baptist Congress. I was a Baptist for like 2 years, and I got tired of that shit. They was on some bullshit, man. They was getting their money from the Vatican, man. That's the one thing I hate. They was on some Freemasonry stuff, but they was getting their money from the Vatican on top. I hate to tell y'all, half of these denominations do. It's about money. That's what I went through. That's what someone told me in the church. I said, really? I didn't know that. I left it in 09, and I think I started listening to Dr. York around that time. I started listening to other people in the so-called conscious community, man. I was dabbling with the pro-black stuff. I was into pro-black stuff years ago as a Christian. So you know how that goes. I left that in 09, man. In 2011, I started listening to the Hebrew Israelites, man, from GMS, that guy from Ohio. That's how that got started. But then I started listening to Elder Young One, the actual scriptures and the Torah and all that stuff. That's when I stuck with him for so many years. I stayed on this path. And then I started doing and practice my own thing and keep the words in spirit. I still read the scriptures every now and then, but I keep it in spirit. I try to live the best of my ability through those. So yeah, I don't brag about it a lot on panels. I don't brag about it in the chat, because I know most people are agnostic and atheistic. because they can be so nihilistic. I try to stay away from conversations like that because I'm gonna be like Zero. See, Zero calls it the magic conversation, right? I try to stay away from conversations like that. Yeah, that's a good exercise. I do it a lot. I just keep my mind clear when I'm doing this. But that's the whole purpose. I can go different places when I pace up a dot. That's the whole message of this video. I talk about the two things like content and trolling. You know, sometimes trolling can be bad, but it can be good in your advantage. You don't like someone. It depends on how you behave yourself. But like Zero said, he said, I don't want to deal with magical conversations. But and here's my response: I don't like to deal with nihilistic, atheistic conversations as well. Because people love atheism, man. They love the agnostic mindset. You know, I try to stay away from those conversations, just like the flat earth conversation. They become extreme. And you start arguing about a bunch of stuff that y'all don't really mean. You'll you'll be all right. I used to, brother Ben X. I used to listen to those dudes. They're good, but I don't take their stuff to say. I just take their message and try to expound on it. But what I do is I stick to what I know. But I try to listen to other people's viewpoints. That's the good thing. It's a variety you listen to. You don't try to take their word for it. That's why I try to tell people, don't listen to me. Do your own research. You can debate about it. That's cool. But I'm not going to scream and yell. You have your points. We can agree to disagree. We can disagree to disagree or agree to agree. We're men. That's one thing I like about Gold Professor. He told me to come up. Let's have a conversation. And I said, okay, that's great. I was in Ramil's chat, right? I just told you that before. I said, Ramil was talking about some silly stuff. My boy Kuda was on the panel. He was asleep. He was tired doing something. He was in his own mind. Everybody has their own things doing, right? But Lord behold, I ran into a chat with Gold Professor on my Chrome laptop, right? Chromebook, right? And he called me. I was just passing through, and he said, "We're gonna bless you this morning. It's your day." And then he was talking to this boy Joy, the one that had problems with his relationship with his mom's, whatever, right? So what I've noticed, I had to hit the link, and I told him okay, and that was it. It turned out great. So that was probably the best. I might have to see the replay on that. I'm really serious. I might have to see a replay. Besides, I got the one with the third shit with Kuda, but I want to hear myself on the Gold Professor. I want to see what I say on there was expounded. I want to see what I said on there because I that's a deserve a replay watch right there. So yeah, shouts out to him though. I salute the dude. He's cool in the chat, but I didn't think he was that good of a content creator. I said, man, I'm starting liking his more, but I missed his live stream this morning because I was over at the third shift just chopping up on certain things, and we talked about a little different things there and there. I mean, we did a little roasting there. But yeah. And after that, it was just fun, Yeah, he's cool. He's kind of entertaining, but he's cool. But I try to balance my my Verizons, who I watch and I listen to. I try to be fair, and then sometimes I listen to different stuff outside the Manosphere. I try to stick to stuff, and yeah, I watch the games too, like the playoffs. Playoffs is just insane. I'm gonna watch some tonight, and I'm feeling great, man. See, I don't think about this stuff when I see the Manosphere Madness all day. I sleep great at night. I don't have to with individuals. I just be here on my side and just living my best, man. Try to keep my spirits up. That's what you try to do and try to keep it pushing, And what I think is, I appreciate that people dropping through, man. I mean, I appreciate y'all for listening. But yeah, I think Go P, and we was talking to this young kid, man, just keep your head up, man. Don't even think about the problems you had. He was traumatized when he was young. And I was thinking about that boy that DS1 was talking about. It's very, very normal in this generation. They normalize destruction. And destruction is not the way to go. I hate that, especially as black young men, young males, and young boys, man. Destruction is just sickening. You know, it's so damn sickening. And you see it in these spaces and they think this is the way of life. No, it's more than life than just being that destructive, man. Like, I understand relationships ain't perfect, but if you're a good man, you get one, salute to you, man. I'm not gonna hate on you. I'll say congratulations. You're a real one. Now you got young guys to inspire to. Don't be, if you're a nihilist, just be one. But just don't broadcast the, the hatred we see in the spaces, because you got an individual that's critiquing y'all. We know it's AF. He's just a critic. He's a journalist. But you got individuals challenging other individuals' profession. If he wants to open marriage, that's a man's business. See, that's why I didn't go against Lucario on Ramil's, because I understand what Ramil does. He interviewed BU. I don't agree with everything he said, but Gabe gave him some pushback. He gave him some pushback on the money aspect. He gave him some pushback. He answered. Gabe didn't get what he wanted, but I wish more brothers do that. They're trying. You just got to give them the pushback. I mean, JX did the same thing. They gave him pushback. It was a few people gave him pushback. I like both of their arguments. Everybody gets how they live. It depends on who's striving, who's what. So Gabe comes from the corporate world. The other guy just say, look, I'm just being self-made. So they have two different perspectives. See, when you talk about religion and politics, it gets murky. Even in barbershops, I hear arguments a lot. I'll never forget. You can't talk around black folks, especially family, because it gets touchy, because I have 2 family members that don't think like religious people. So you know how it is. That's what atheism has become. It's become dominant in the manosphere too, which is not good, because you got to have balance of different ideas. You don't have to just be on one side, because that's very, very, very murky. Niggas in the space are sick in the head, and I've been stating that people need therapy. Yeah, they do. They do. I support that. Thanks to Gold Professor. Shouts out to him. I salute. I think about death a lot, but more if I gotten older, I have forced myself to stop thinking about it, and I get scared sometimes. Yeah, it's a scary feeling, man. I used to think about it in my 20s and got out of it, and I found better ways to look at positive things instead of being negative. See, the trick is, if you are that nihilistic, you'll end up like the Joker was, trying to kill everybody. I mean, a lot of people reference that movie, and they forget that he was nihilistic, man. He was the opposite. So I think people just got to look at that for a second. Why is he like that? Well, it's intentional. So you got to look at it a certain way. I try not to get upset about it, because some people just ain't going to change. You can only change a handful. But that kid that died today, that's awful, man. I mean, it's going to be like that, like him, the sick, that grew up in bad areas. That's something we got to change. I think the message should be strong, but you got to talk about things like that. It's okay to go to therapy. I'm the first one to tell you. I think Gold Professor, he said he did it once, and we was trying to tell that Joy guy it's okay to go. Keep your head up. It's no shame in that. And I think Roger Report preaches that on his channel. It's okay to get therapy, get some professional help. Just like Wacky said, professional help. You got brothers that can help you with that. But I'm not saying like we have these therapy conversations. I mean, it's different levels to it, but it's okay to get some professional help. And you got them in these spaces. You got PhDs that can help you. That's cool with that. Because I'll tell you firsthand, my mom's got a therapist, but she does her stuff online. So it's popping because of COVID. So yeah, man. Yeah, you got a lot of sick people. I don't mention no names, the other ones. It's just sad. But that's normal. But when you got kids like that dying, these people need to get professional help outside of this space. Facts. I agree. They need to. I need to. Because that can really help them too. They should. But a lot of them, it's just that ego, especially the men. And we won't have guys like what's his name? Little Loaded. Nobody didn't reach out. They said, fuck him. You know what I mean? He could have been changed and probably left the rap career and try to help somebody else, you know? But that's what happens when you're a young rapper, man. Like, when I saw that DS1 video, man, I was just like, man, that's awful, man. I just talked to a young person that I asked him if he's going to therapy. He said he was going to therapy. I won't. Next time I go on Go Professor, I'll ask him. I'll ask him. Because that was a good different age range. He was going on 23. I'm just 33, and Go Professor's like in his 50s. I think 52 or something like that. Yeah. He liked that convo. It's different perspectives. And I think Toya asked great question that day. Radical honesty. And we was radical honest about what we thought about females and hygiene and stuff like that. That was a great topic. And segue to what his mom was about. And I'm glad he's one of the few youngsters I respect to say his mom used to be the prostitutes in Philadelphia and things like that. Shouts out to the young man for his honesty, because none of them are that honest these days. They get to lie online like the older generation. So it's a generational problem. But Z's got to fix it, and we're going to help them fix it. Some of the millennials are going to fix it. Gen X ain't going to fix it. You can just forget that. They ain't going to fix it. It's only a handful. But the majority of them, they ain't gonna help them. It's going to be a handful of us brothers going to help this young brother and show him that there's a better way of looking at it instead of being too nihilistic. I mean, you can try it, but my advice, don't go extreme, two extremes. You got to think for yourself, because a lot of times people get depressed on here. I try not to. I try to look at different things. I try to be multitasking, multifaceted, and try to move around and get outside more and talk to people. That's the best way you can do when you're in therapy. Even if you're on the job, just walk around the store, do something, or shop a little bit, or drive on the road or something. Go to a park, meditate a little bit, get your mind right, eat right. That's what I did for those years. So I did my best. That's the best I can give him. When I was his age, I had to survive, big time. So yeah, it's great, man. People think I'm trying to poke fun when stating this, but I'm not. I'm serious when I stated. Yeah, I know you're serious. I'm not poking fun of it either, because I appreciate your input, man. Like when I talked to that young man on Go Professors, man, I was like, dude, it's more than life than just being destructive. You know what I mean? It's bad enough we got it in this world. Like I saw in that Capitol building, like you did and you said last night, Wacky, man, that's true. A lot of those people are sick in the head, but it's personal. A lot of people, society is not way it is. A lot of people is willing to die, and you got some people just gonna die for something that's wild. But you have to have that spirit, man. If you're really about it, you're about it. If you're not, it's on you, man. I can't stop people from acting crazy, especially in these spaces, and especially with people on panels and stuff, because it's gonna get to a point. How you gonna survive? That's for one. Just like the space test of time, I don't worry about mainstream, because mainstream is not surviving. So we already know about that conversation. That conversation is kind of dead right now. That game versus non-game, that's kind of dead right now. Nobody's studying that. They should be focused on enlightenment at this point, because you got young kids dying over females. They ain't experienced life yet. They ain't lived a bit like my age. They didn't get to see, I would say, 30. If you ask them today, are they going to make it to 30? And they probably laugh at you. You tell these young kids today, I'm talking about the young kids today and on down. They laugh. They ain't gonna make it to 30. In their minds, they don't want to. Look at the music that we're producing. It's not good. I mean, there's some great music out there, but there's a lot of bad music out there with those messages. And it's getting worse. And it's not good. Yeah. It's real sad. And I tried to talk to them in these spaces too, on panels. And I asked him how old he is. When I was his age, before they had panels and chats, we was talking about real shit and learn how to survive on jobs and stuff. But these kids today, they just reckless. They too busy worrying about the smallest shit and he should learn from his mistakes and stop listening to others, man. But that's what happens when you're on these social media and social network type sites. It gets more extreme, and then the bullying, the trolling, and all that comes with it. It gets reckless after a while, because what you're seeing, it's not that bad. I mean, he could have just broke up with her and just be fine, but he didn't, because you know what I mean? It's just like these kids today, they have a different perspective of looking at how relationships are. You know, when I was in one, it was that simple. And I didn't die over that. You know, that was, I think I had a strong will then. Thank goodness I did. Because I don't know what I would have done. So I don't wish that on nobody. But it's sad that we need to talk about this way more, because yeah, you want to reform young boys that's in their 20s and on down. That's who you need to talk to. Because that's the message that's listening to the fear. I ain't worried about people my age. They done. I'm talking about the ones in their 20s and teens. A lot of problems with the younger generations, that they don't have moral compass. They keep them grounded, and they don't have the type of strong foundation that the people our age and older had. Exactly. They don't, because their parents, their age, it could be our generation a little bit and some of Gen X's, and that's the problem. And if they got young Gen X family, man, I ain't dissing all young Gen X, but it's in my family as well. I have every generation in my family. They didn't help them do shit, and when their kids get older, they get lost and they become destructive. They become counterproductive. But when they come to the manosphere, it's like a coping mechanism. It's like they haven, and they ladder to be they haven. This is kind of like they Copenhagen or something like that, or they use these spaces to not just to vent, but just to lash out on people, try to get a rise, and their version of red pill rage is is stacking females on pounds and shit, which I don't really care. You know, that ain't my goal. But these youngsters, they have a different perspective of life and relationships. So I feel sorry for him. But, you know, like I talked to one yesterday, he was going on 23, and he's not dead, though. His name is Joey. He's a good dude, and I say he's going to make it. But then to find out that this individual that died, it's awful. It's awful. Even if they're getting killed by the police or not, but the suicide that's awful. That's a new one for me, because you don't hear a lot of black people dying like that when I was coming up. It was usually white folks, but you had some died over drugs. You had some died over the drugs. Back then, it wasn't a large number. Now it's probably larger than that. I don't know the statistics on that. That's a good one. But nobody in the space won't talk about that. That ain't normal, man. Is white people dying like that? No, nigga. There's black young men his age in his 20s dying over a vagina, man. Which is crazy. But I understand, you know, because if you look at COVID, you look at everything, people are dying left and right. It's just, you know what I mean? It can be a lot of things. We don't know what happened. And if his mom's wasn't ish or shit, that's what you got to look at. It's like what Wacky said. Yeah, they didn't have no moral compass. I think these so-called black males possess one of the highest suicide rates in the United States. And I believe that, man. I mean, I wish I had a stat. I might have to do a future stream on that. I don't know if that's going to be. I got to see that. I got to see a stat. I know people going to disagree, but the hell with them. I'm just going to use it anyway. See, we got problems here. I see it in this space and outside of the manosphere. You got people that have suicidal problems. It's going to get worse, man. I mean, this country is not helping them. The $10 billion, good luck with that. That's going to fuck the women up too. That's on both races. I mean, both genders, man. It's not good. It's not good. Because you think you're going to survive out here? Shit. I know people go to other countries to relax. It's cool. But, you know, what happens if they Americanize them? You don't want that. So, yeah. They're making a killing right now. These people in these therapy chairs, you think they making money right now over this. Especially this COVID thing. And that's a good thing. You know, give people some, you know, a lot of people hate the word hope. But, you know, I know people hate it so much, but I get it. You know, some people don't understand it. So, and I have a different respect. I mean, there's hope for a certain individual if he wants to be right. This space doesn't want to talk about matters of the soul because they equate that with religion, which is absurd. Religious or not, if your soul is in turmoil, life is devastating. Facts. I agree with that. That young man didn't just commit suicide over a female. He had plenty of other problems. A lot of times people who do such things go through multiple issues that put them in such positions. Facts, and that's true, Wacky. Yep. Yep, that's true. I agree with both of y'all's comments. Yes, religion is control. They equate that with everything. Yes, and I get so sick and tired of it in certain spaces that talk like that. That's those people right there that talk like that, but they're nothing but atheists, man. They're nothing but atheists because atheists talk like that. I seen this early YouTube before I was in these black spaces. It was anti everything. You got black people that's atheists. That ain't nothing new to me. I've seen that over the years online. Now offline is kind of I know a few in the state of Georgia and Tennessee. That's it, and some family members. That's it. But outside of it, as a whole, the United States, no, most people are still in religions. So it's like now I don't know what it is today. Now, if I had a statistic who's atheistic, I may have to do a stream or something or whatever, or just to throw something in there. We'll see the numbers, but if they want to talk about it or someone else want to talk about it, I'm curious who's more atheistic. But I used to listen to Bill Maher and his little religious rants. I mean, he was funny as a comedian, but he always talked down on religion. They had some good points, but it's good to go against the monotheistic ones. But everybody else believes in spirituality, but they ain't gonna touch that. You know why? Because that ain't gonna suit their liking. See, they have a nihilistic way of looking at it. See, when you start listening to Charles Darwin and shit, and they start reading books like Max Stirner and Frederick, those nihilists that birthed all these isms, that's when the existentialism and all these other words, it goes with nihilism, man. Because nihilism is based off destruction and nothingness. It's change of destruction, what B just said. And then the other side, he said change of construction. That's utilitarianism. Because utilitarianism deals with right and wrong, but it is a pragmatic view. It's okay being pragmatic, but you can be pragmatic and spiritual at the same time. But the trick is you can't be nihilistic though, because nihilism doesn't work. I know for a fact it doesn't work because it's not tangible. It's not tangible. I know many experience and research I've seen, it does not work. I've seen that in several individuals I know it doesn't work because they live like how their life is, Most people just prefer that, But online, I see a lot of people online is more atheists than I think than they are religious. Because see, back in old YouTube, it wasn't like that. You had religious groups debating each other in groups, hop to group, and atheism had a group as well. And it was part of the skeptic community. And a lot of skepticisms are really nihilists too. So nihilism is a branch of things they believe in. And they're cynics too. Don't let them tell you they ain't, but they are too. Because I know what that's like. Because I couldn't be one. I had that mindset, yeah, but I wasn't extreme with it. You know what I mean? Because it gets extreme when you get into it. See, I'm mostly on the utilitarian side. I look at morals too. That's why I'm a little bit pragmatic on that side, on the other side. So they're both extreme sides when I talk about them, but that don't get discussed when you go in depth with those beliefs. Because a lot of times people that are too nihilistic, you can't talk to them. It's kind of like an atheist. You can't talk to them for an hour. It's kind of like zero in a way. You kind of just leave those dudes alone. Like he said, I don't deal with magical conversations, but we have nothing else to talk about. Exactly, sir. That's why I've been telling my daughter, and you can be pragmatic and religious, but religion should not stop you from understanding risk versus reward. Some religions acknowledge that. Yeah, they do. I mean, if you're a spiritual person, you can be pragmatic in certain situations. It's okay. It's okay. See, atheists will never understand that. He's nihilistic. He done made his point. It is what it is to him. It's an argument. And what I do is I avoid all arguments like that. But you have to understand that's how they program and train. You know what I mean? They love to say something. They want to be right all the time. Just, like in a way, I can say both sides can be right all the time. But here's the thing, you got to have patience. You have to listen, like I try to do. I used to be like that when I was a Christian, but I grew out of that. I started listening to elders and say, no, you just got to listen and take the turn. It takes skill. Hell, it took me where I'm at. It took me years of experience dealing with people outside the world, debating people outside off the manosphere. I did it on jobs on the side, just information. Did my own research and read better. It takes practice and skill, man. But a lot of these dudes, they don't read things like that, especially under BGS. Like when you get new guys coming through him, they try to trip him early. I'm like, dude, you haven't read this? Like, come on, man. I mean, it's frustrating, but that's any panel. I'm gonna say, like, I'm gonna be fair. That's any panel, not just BGS. That's any panel. You talking about high powerful shit or esoteric stuff? It gets a lot of pushback, but it's a lot to learn. You research from yourself. I try not to go off with BGS. I use the examples that he uses. He's an elder. You know what I mean? He's by himself. He's in his 60s. So we're dealing with somebody that has control over young men. So they don't have that boomer mindset. So a lot of them have that mindset. I hate to say that, but that runs in my family. So I try to fight that. That ain't the future. So millennials should think better, man. I mean, we should help them and guide them because millennials, they have that boomer mindset as well. And it gets dangerous. You don't want to pass that down to your children because they think everything stuff handed to them is great, but it's not. You know what I mean? Because Gen X, they were lost. They're the unknown. They didn't have no future. Some had and some didn't. It was competitive. I ain't gonna speak on that because I have cousins in the younger Gen X and the old Gen X. Their lives wasn't so great. So I can't speak on that. I can speak on a few things about them, but that's it. But after that, that was it. And I think I told him that story. I think I told Joy that story about I had a cousin's nickname was named Pookie, obviously. He was a drug dealer. And he died in 2019. But the one thing I loved about him, though, he said, just don't mess with that street stuff. The street shit, he said, don't do it because it can take your life. That was one reason, too. That's why I'm still here. I listened. At first, I didn't. I was heading down that way because I was hanging with the wrong crowd, even though I did sports and had good grades, but it was temptations, options. See, these young kids don't have that. It's in their face now. Back then, it was kind of like stealth, but it was there. You know what I mean? Then the Ray Rays, in my viewpoint, is they're the ones doing life and time and in and out in prison. What Minister Jeff say, Rodney's? Yeah, I come from that era, that cloth. These kids don't know about the Ray Rays today because they're more reckless now. They're killing each other, Percocets, drugs, and that's just it's awful, awful stuff. Now you got technologies killing them faster with the drones. You don't know what this society is there for them, and then Generation Alpha is gonna be a mess. You have to pick their brains off the concrete, man, because you don't know how politics is gonna play out. Because no matter which party, they ain't got our best interests. But that's all we have to have. We have to learn how to be patient with ourselves. We have to give ourselves a break sometimes to settle down and wait and then find peace in our decisions. Exactly. I agree with that 100%. You have to. And that's what I try to do. You have to be patient. Some people will change, some ain't. It's just what it is, You can't cry over spilled milk. You just got to keep it moving. Just spread it. Yeah, I decided to make this stream because it was on the top of my head. I also want to talk about content and trolling because what I saw last night was just wild, man. And it's on my mind off the dome. So I had to talk about myself a little bit because I like what Gold Professor said yesterday. I enjoyed that stream. I might have to see the replay of that because that right there was my favorite panel. It was small, but it was my favorite panel. and I'll be over there more often. But I'll see what Golf Professor's talking about and try to give him more support. Salute to the brother. And yeah, trolling. Just don't feed the trolls. They get aggressive every year. They get reckless every year. I don't troll as like I used to. I mean, only time I troll is probably in Ramil's chat and don't even care. Be comedic about it. Soft trolling. My trolling game is kind of went down over the years. I used to be wild in my 20s online. In my 30s, I kind of toned it down. Because the older I get, I'm kind of back off of it. You know what I mean? I ain't got no problem with it. I know how to deal with them. When I had this channel, even before the chats and the panels, it's light work. When I look at trolling, it's light work to me, man. It ain't nothing. I don't stress over it. And people say the trolling is bad in the space. No, it's not. That's just part of the game. You have to survive and learn how to live your life and don't take them seriously. Because if you do, you end up like these kids out here, man. You got to get your mind right. Like, you got to look at other things besides let's beat up on the females all day. We already know they're the disaster. Sometimes you got to move forward, man. Obsidian's not the answer. I mean, he's just one man. No shots at him, but I'm just saying, I don't listen to him every day. I don't be on his chats every day trying to argue about people about, marriage and stuff. If Obsidian just need to take the few, my advice, if I were ever see him on the panel, take the few that agrees with you and ignore the rest, man. Because most people, they just not going to go for his way of thinking. So he's going to have to look at that and just be honest. So, yeah, I just want to put this out here, and I know I went on long enough. It was a long, drawn out stream. So it's like an hour, 17 minutes and 20 seconds. So, yeah, I want to shout out Brother Pidat. Okay, hold on. Okay. Is that why MOT was lecturing you on that one time because he thought you were trolling and I felt some type of way about you, but getting a lecture like that? But when I took up for you, he blocked me completely. Yeah. He's got problems. I don't listen to people like that. Like, the problem with him is him and I don't want to say Fantastic. I don't call him Mr. Fitnelli. They have the same issues. They from the South, the way they grew up. I don't deal with those individuals no more. They're too emotional. They like Zero, for example. Zero, I'm cool with. It's those two, they get too emotional. When it comes to politics, I laugh at that whole lecture. He used buzzwords like, I call him Mr. TEO, track record, environment, and outcomes. He tries to stress it on people. I know he's passionate, but he takes it too far. And thanks to Angry Man showing what he's been doing, they've been cool. They've been boys, man. I kind of lost respect when he did threaten people online like that. I can't co-sign that. I'm sorry to say that. I don't care who disagrees. I cannot co-sign that. I know I ain't perfect either, but I don't do that. And Zero didn't co-sign it either, but that's what he does, man. Obsidian is a sensationalist. He is a little bit. If I was him, take the side that agrees with you and don't worry about the people that don't believe in you, man. Like, I get so tired of that. Yeah. Yeah, Wacky's cool with MOT. Yeah. But me and him are not speaking because we went left over something small, but that's gonna be in due time. We'll be all right. So, but the other dude that puts a battery in his back, I call Mr. Fitnelli 824. I don't mess with dudes like that. He put a battery in his back and got that shit started. I blame him for that. I don't blame MOT for that, but I blame the individual that really started it in that hammer. That's how that got started. He's just mad. So you heard him threaten Green Gorilla. That debate was, yeah, it was shameful. People lost respect for him and views and stuff like that. I have no beef with MOT for one. I don't say it for the record. I just kind of soft troll him a little bit off Third Shift. I don't really care what he does. That's his business. I ain't got time to beef with dudes like that. He's 40 something years old. He's a grown man. I'm 33 years old. I ain't got time for that. You go over there with that shit. Go hang with Mr. Fitnall. I don't fuck with Mr. Fitnall because he's a snake. I thought we was cool last year. He did some sucker shit and listened to Aegon over Complex's wife at the Sapio thing, and that's how that went left. That's how he blocked me. But fuck it, I don't care. They mad because I'm siding with a guy that dealt with these dudes, and He has a music background. He ain't perfect either. He told me his story. So I listen to people. I ain't trying to put my allegiance in dudes like that. I'm sorry. I mean, they all came from Obsidian. I hate to say that because Obsidian knows them very well. And I agree with this one. They come from that. That's the problem. And I just can't co-sign that. I'm sorry. I don't agree with Anger Man says either, but you know what I'm saying? I'm not over there on this channel like that. You ain't gonna see me over there. So I'm good on this side over here. I let him do his thing. There's other people trolling him too. There's Beasley. Beasley got him. So I'm off on AM. So he knows I come from 1.0. So, you know, I ain't trying to take his parade over the third shift. A lot of people say they left third shift because of him, not because of Ism and Platinum. That's a stretch. It's really Anger Man. That's what this is about. All that shit comes from Anger Man and Obsidian. That's their little civil war. See, Obsidian and Anger Man don't like each other. And O'Shea, those three don't like each other. That's what Rude Dev's been saying. I'm siding with Rude on that one. So I'm taking the Rude Demp route. So basically, I ain't outcast anything. It's just too many egos, man. Yeah, he did. Anger Man told me. Anger Man and Kuda told me. I mean, they ain't perfect either, but yeah. But let him tell it. Let him tell it, Wacky. I ain't gonna speak on him. I'm not gonna debate dude. I'm just gonna leave him be. The best thing to do is just let him be. Because he's on that shit. That's why you don't see him and Mike V don't talk as much, I don't think. The thing is, for me, I agree with a lot what MOT said. Yeah, same here, Padot. I used to. And says, and they want you to take a side on everything. Yeah, it's ridiculous. See, that's the political shit that I don't like. Everybody's different. I'm center right. I'm not that extreme with my views, man. It's ridiculous. And I take the meat and spit out the bones on just about everything. That's what I do. And they just can't get along. That I'll give you an example. Him and Mr. Fantastic, aka Mr. Fitnelli, the mob boss that ran all the destruction and won a K for JX, right? When they talk about politics from the right, when I was over there, they start arguing. They did that on Ramil's panel. But that's just it. Yeah, they both cool. I know in some degree, but sometimes when you got to do like Fantastic Wacky, he kind of stirs shit up over at Ramil's. But I addressed the Dot's point. Yeah, it's a lot of strife. Look at Zero Stream when they had Kuda and Platinum. They was trying to talk to them, but you know they mad at Angry Man after that. You know, if the allegation comes from Angry Man, then I won't believe it. I know, I understand Wacky because I know you have a gripe with him though. But I heard it out of his mouth and Kuda's mouth. You know, they don't co-sign that. You know, but let MOT tell it. Like I just ain't gonna co-sign it. I'm sorry to say, I just not gonna agree with that. You know, and I'm not trying to has a history of making threats online. Yeah, he does, and I refuse to believe his. Yeah, he does the same thing. I don't get into him like that. I just let him put his foot in his mouth. What I do with him is I treat him just like everybody else. What you learn from him is like he hasn't stopped. That's why he's getting trolled by your boy. That's what Neon. So I'm not gonna get into that because Kuda said check on your boy, Game Changer, and how we fell out was over China White. So you ain't gonna see me over there because they get so emotional. A lot of okay with the MOT thing. That's political. I'm just gonna leave that alone because I'll let him patch that up. Yeah, he has, because it's a lot of shit what happened down with him and Kuda and Platinum. Zero's a whole troll too. He circle jerks every now and then, but he's cool. That's what he does. When you're dealing with Zero, man, it's like you got to deal with it. I don't get emotional about it, man, because he had you amped up, Padot. I remember that stream. Y'all was talking about the same topic we was talking about right now. And you know, me and him is not speaking to other individuals like I mentioned, your boy and Mr. Fitnall. I ain't never gonna speak to him. I'm always gonna throw him at Ramil's chat because he was crying when Tommy called him broke. That dude is so fucking egotistical, man. I can't be around people like that. I cut them dudes off. I have a different learning patterns like that. Yeah, Tommy called him broke, and it hit home too, because he wasn't making that much money in the military. He'll get some when he gets in retirement, but he ain't gonna get much. That's why he needs YouTube. That's why Rue Dent be going at his head. People are tired of him. Big J's tired of him. Everybody's tired of him. MLT's not a bad dude. He just be listening to the wrong people, man. Yeah, always gonna troll him. He wants the spotlight whack. You gotta understand, this dude is 10 times worse than MLT. If MLT was smart, he better learn to flip on him because they be arguing. They don't get along. They don't even hang out with each other like that. That shit with him and Fantastic, that's not real. Kuda's right. I've been seeing that last year over the George Floyd thing. I already know. I already know what's going on. See, when I was over there, I understand how they get down, but he knows damn well he put a batter in your back and believe. And that's how he killed the Brain Trust and Stream Team, man. He's the main one. That's why Tassida don't fuck with him. Kuda don't fuck with him. The only person that fuck with him is Game Changer. I call him Blank Changer, man. He sound like Blank Man. I don't mess with Blank Changer no more. And I'm not hating. You know, I'm just telling it like it is. My heart, I'm just yeah, ain't not hating my heart. No, I'm just telling it like it is, man. Like, dude he be whining so much. And then you see why Kuda deals with the shit he deals with, but you know, he ain't perfect either. You know, he trolls. I disagree on a lot of things what Kuda says. You know what I'm saying? We can get along. I mean, we don't agree on everything on game and stuff. You know, I'm a man at the end of the day. Like I did with Gold Professor, and he asked me to come up. See, I like shit like that, man. These dudes is uptight, man. When you study people who they are, you get a feel how they are, man. But I ain't got time to diss in MOT. I always call him Dark Side or Mr. TEO. You know, it's just a joke with him because he had that icon. He switched his icon because of me. He's upset because he got hurt when I joined Kuda, but he takes it way too seriously, man. And that right there, like I talk about this content right here, like content and trolling, there's levels to it. You know, I don't take this shit seriously, man. See, these dudes need to calm down. I understand everybody's got their own corners, but y'all see in the summer, y'all see. And it's not his fault. I ain't got no hate towards him. I say it all the time at Thursday. I have no hate towards him. I ain't got no beef and all that stuff. He just wants attention. He wants content. I get it. I respect it. Him and Angerman, they do the same shit. They ain't perfect. And Angerman, I don't listen to everything he says. He does it himself. I'll tell you this, Shango disagreed with him a few times. Yeah, he went after Angerman. So yeah, Angerman, they already got right where he want him. So it's no diss to Angerman. Angerman's all right with me because I ain't got no issue with him. I'm just neutral. I'm out of it. Kuda doesn't seem to be hateful or malice, though. I can tolerate trolling, but meaning sprightliness takes all the fun out of everything. Yeah, it does. It does. And I try to stay away from topics like politics with dudes like that. And then Mr. Fitnall, man, they take it too personal. And this is why they be on AF's shit list. And that's why I don't want to associate with myself with that because you got a lot of bots and trolls on their side try to blame you for shit. They circle jerk as well. That's why you got to be careful with Zeros, man. Zero's trying to be careful. He's not dumb, okay? Zero's not dumb. These other dudes ain't dumb because they know their channel's gonna be taken. See, GC's channel was based off the other shit that I don't associate with. He just like to use people's content and the music and stuff. He has to be careful, man. So yeah, man. I try to stay away from shit like that. I try to focus on myself first. But it's no harm on these guys, man. It's no harm. It's not harm on Complex either. It's just I let them do their thing, man. I ain't with the choosing side. This stuff is not real. You just take what you learn and move on, man. I ain't got no issues with those individuals because I know how they are. When I go to Art of New Style, see, Art is the only one I'm cool with. Everybody else, they have to make things right. If I have to make things right, fine. But they have to make things right too, because I know they don't like Mr. Fittinelli, man. I know they don't like him. Ramil will flip on him one day. He will, mark my words, he's gonna get 10,000. He's gonna get tired of his bullshit too. I try to tell you, those dudes don't get along. Ramil's saying it when he left, they never challenged him. I agree with Kuda. They ain't gonna challenge him because one, Ramil's a Ray Ray. I don't believe he's a Puka. I think he's a Ray Ray because he knows all that street shit. He's not stupid. He's seen some shit. He's from Chicago, so you from Chicago, you know all that shit. You can't tell me when you have topics like that that we're afraid to talk about, the suicides, the killings, the jobs, money, and all that, and you come from a city like that, nah. Pookies don't talk like that. Pookies sell drugs and be stupid and try to bounce around and shit. But Ray Ray, he's vicious. He's the bully on the block. See, I believe Ramil's like that. I'm sorry to say that about him, but I ain't got no gripes against him. But I'm just saying, I know his aura. That's what he draws up. But when he left, he was stuck at 5,000. But when he came back, he's up to 6,000. I told Kuda this. He may get 10,000 for the years out, or 20,000 next year. That's my prediction. I know y'all can disagree with that, but that's my prediction. But I have no ills with these other individuals, man. That, like, y'all take this shit way too serious, but y'all will never say that into Ramil's face, because Ramil's not playing. He is not playing with y'all. Especially these females that's in these space. They ain't playing with y'all either. So, but I don't blame those individuals siding with Mr. Fitnall. That's what that was. This has always been about him and Kuda. That's always been about. I think it was the pink pill swirler divestiture sector responsible for flagging GC's channel. And prior to this, I told people on Melody's panel, ignore that sector. That's Melody's fault. And I agree with you, Wacky. Yeah, I told her the same thing. Those people that's coming on her panels, those thirsty simps, whatever, they gonna hurt her channel too. She gonna be associated with that. Leave pink pill sector alone. Let them self-destruct. That's why I try to tell MOT, let Fantastic self-destruct, man. He's the same way. He likes arguments. Look at Antes. He has Jessica S destroying his platform. Shouts out to Antes. Antes, stay away from that dude. He caused havoc. A lot of people don't check this man. This is why I agree with Kuda. They don't check this man that he's wrong. You need some type of gear, but don't be condescending and try to lie to people if you want to do something greater. But I ain't saying make the space great, but just, yeah. Exactly. I ignore that sector completely, but they keep coming at Auntie's platform. I'm gonna tell you why. And I told Auntie, be careful, man, because Bomb associate herself with that platform. And now she try to be cool with JX. Nah, man. Nah. That's why Jerome flipped. He flipped out in Ramil's today in the chat. But you gotta understand something. When you're dealing with individuals like that, everybody's divided on certain things, man. That's why I don't take this stuff serious. I try to get my mind right and get this fresh air and just say, hey, but if MOT comes around, we come around, man. I ain't got no beef with him. It's just little shots, little trolling there and there. He call me whatever I want. I don't really care. I ignore him. I ain't gonna respond. I'm not that type of dude, man. But until you get that batter at his back by that dude, Mr. 824, because we ain't gonna be cool. Because I'm just gonna keep trolling him because he got a lot of mouth. He doesn't like to be told that he's wrong. You know what I mean? Ever since that George Floyd incident and that cop going to prison, whatever, that's why I gave him that name. And Just DeAndre broke it down. That dude was already sick before he had the drugs in the system, so he can't even prove that. So I'm not gonna debate his ass because he can't debate. He took opponents that he can beat. He put some real facts behind him. He got outclassed on Art of New Styles plenty of times, twice. And Charles cussed his ass out. Faulkner, he wasn't playing with him. Try to tell him he wasn't a professional. Get the fuck out of here. People are tired of his ass. I'm sorry. Rudemp's gonna be tired of his ass. Everybody's gonna flip on him. Y'all gonna see. Y'all gonna see. And people around us gonna get tired of his bullshit too. Ramil will flip on him one day. I ain't gonna say he won't, but it's a possibility because they argue over Ramil. See, Kuda be telling me what's going on with them too. They did this last year when I was subscribed to both of them because I know they don't get along with each other, man. Don't believe what you see on YouTube. Behind the scenes, they don't get along like that. They're not brothers like that. It's only a handful, but you know what I'm saying? You just got to be careful who you associate with because I learned a lot. I had to learn about myself too because, I think him and others and Wacky myself getting this content back on, man. I had to do something. I had to make something with substance. But, man, it's just, I don't worry about those individuals, but I let them, I wish them well. And it's no hard feelings. It ain't nothing personal. You know what I mean? If they come this way, we'll talk, But they so-called jumping what he's saying. But I'm not gonna speak on it anymore because I feel like I laugh at that, you know. But that's what Mr. Fitnall wants. There isn't anybody don't like, but maybe I should more discern it. But I think sometimes even Taz is right, but he's just unhinged. Yeah, him and Ramil's beefing right now. You do know Kuda has a personal vendetta against MT. I just you don't always take heed to what he says about MOT. Well, that's their vendetta. It's deeper than that. They used to be cool. I seen his old live streams. It's personal, and what MOT does as him, I'm staying out of it because it's deeper than that, Wacky. Because the way I listen to Kuda, I heard MOT side what he thought about him. It's a little bias. It's a generational bias. I seen this shit when I was coming up. You can't take what MOT says. I don't take him seriously now because anytime you listen to Fantastic, that's my issue with him. If he makes that right and stop listening to that nigga, you won't go further. They hate Kuda because he got that background. That's all it is. He got the gear and stuff. Even though I don't agree everything that Kuda says with the gear and the podcasting, and I try to be fair. You know, I disagree with him on certain things. Don't get me wrong. Ain't no agreement because we get each other pushback. We talk about things, but MOT and me, it was a little different. You know, we talk about politics and things. That's about it. But other than that, not other stuff. So it's who you associate with. Yeah, he has a personal vendetta because I think he did something to Kuda. He did something to him. So it's like I ain't gonna get into either side. Yeah. That's who he is, man. He's from the DMV area. I don't listen to that stuff. What I try to do is I tune it out and but you ain't saying what I'm saying, but Fantastic, he likes to bully people online and Rudemp can't stand him. That's why I'm getting it from it. But but it seems a way to between Kuda and MOT. What I don't understand is why sometimes we just need to let things roll off our back. I agree with you, sir. Pushback can help you grow. Yeah, it can. But Fantastic's the main contributor of that little beef, that little mic beef. It's ridiculous. I mean, Kuda had a simple jet. Yeah, I'll tell you this. Since he's a Capricorn like LeBron, they come off as I don't want to say condescending. His words hurt. It's like mine in a way, since we're both Earth signs, right? Since I'm a Taurus. Kuda, the best way to make him mad, I think I made a comment on MOT's chat when we first met. I said he had style and that something. I was in that live stream at the tail end of it, and he got offended, right? I'm the only one who can touch him like that, right? Now, when you're dealing with a guy like Fantastic, he gets super emotional. So we're like fixed signs, quality signs, right? He's a Scorpio, right? Hot-headed, has a temper. Ramil does too, but Ramil's cool with it. He's sneaky because I don't know if he's a lucky number or not. So I try to stay away from Ramil's wrath because Ramil's he's out there. He don't play that shit. But Fantastic, he just likes to annoy everybody. That's my issues with him, really, with that incident with MOT and the accomplice thing about his wife and all that. That's where it stems from. I ain't got no problems with MOT. Like when you side with that nigga, man, nah. I ain't siding with Kuda either on this either, but I understand where Kuda's coming from. But I try not to get into that. That's between them and MOT. I let them hash that out or whatever. If they was cool at one time, when I saw those videos, they was cool and all that stuff. But that game stuff, he tells you all the time he's a square, Wacky. He tells you he's a square. He knows he's a square. But I think he used it as I won't say a hustle, but I say it's like a niche. But he'll grow out of it, because I don't know how old he's, but if he's older than me or younger than me, but he's in our generation. So that's something he just quit doing weed years ago. So he's exposing himself. So, but I think the real reason why they hate him because he sided with Angry Man. That's all that is. That's all that is. I figured it out. MOT's mad that he sided with Angry Man. But Anger Man and Obsidian don't like each other. Anger Man don't like MOT because MOT side with Obsidian. That's what that is. You know, they all came from Obsidian, how they started out, thanks to DS1. But a lot of people try to say that ain't true, but no, it's true. Obsidian was popular back then. But that's what what me and Badak talked about. They don't like each other, so it's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be another split. I just don't know when. So you know, I'm done talking about them two because I let Angry Man be who he is. I let MOT be who he is. It's just I let them put their foot in their mouth because I listen to what they say half the time. But sometimes I don't pay attention to Angry Man's channel, so I just leave them alone because I don't get into beasts like that. You know, if y'all have personal, y'all was boys, whatever. You know, y'all have to solve that out. I try not to bring it up to Kuda. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was wrong when AM started going. Yeah, he did. He called him the damn flap. You know, but I'll tell you this. You know how people do. It's personal, but it has nothing to do with the game topic. I don't care about the game topic. MOT try to make an issue with that. He's been on that shit since prior. He had issue with those dudes, and when he joined SYSBM, that's when he was on a rampage. It's deeper than that, Wacky. I mean, that's part of it, but let him tell it. But I'm looking at it from both sides too. I try to be fair with him, but dude, you taking it way too far, man, because you was cool with Kuda. You was on that stuff. And here's where it went left. When I saw it with Laro trying to argue with him, he cussed out Laro on that stream. I already knew it wasn't going nowhere. A lot of people try to say it ain't got nothing to do with Angry Man, but I'm just looking at it from a different angle, man. I can't see anybody any different. Okay, what you say, Padat? Why do people get so bent out of shape about Game? Why do it take it so seriously? Game isn't killing anything, but it doesn't build anything. It's nothing. It's a nothing burger. Yeah. I don't worry about it at all. I admit I'm a square, but I don't preach that Game stuff. You know, I know it's just it's just a finesse move, not just for women. It's a lot of things, but it's changed in different variations. And then the non-game stuff, I don't get in those arguments. It started by a young individual that was dumb. Why would you listen to Kuda? He tells you all the time, don't listen to me. That's Hammer's fault. That ain't Kuda's fault. Y'all can't blame Kuda for that. That's done by design. See, Ty City had issues with MOT as well. That's why he created the Logic Sphere. I already know what's going on because I'm gonna see it for what it is, you know. I can't pick no sides and say, oh, this guy's wrong and all that. No, MOT, you got to take the fall too. I mean, I agree with some things you say about Kuda. I mean, it's true. Y'all was cool. Y'all got to hash that out because y'all was cooler than that. It's deep. If they was that close, like they say they were, hey. But you know, AM just escalated it. So I don't know what happened. So nah, you know, I can't side with MOT on everything because that's like when I was over there, I didn't see that. I had to look at both sides. I can't be one of those people saying, "Oh, he's right" and all that. Yeah, he's right on some things about Kuda, but that's who he is. Kuda's always been that. But now he's trying to get away from that. What I've noticed. Yeah, it is dangerous and use up. Yeah, it is. It is. But I blame the young people listening to guys like Kuda, man. Like, if I would have told Hammer, stop listening, stick with BGS like the elders, like he should have, he was in school, he wouldn't have this issue. I know BGS supports it a little bit, but there's other elders out there, they told him, nah, don't do that. It just ruins your life. So yeah, I try to stay away from those conversations because it starts into arguments like barbershop talk. Like when you talk about it, that's all it is. But I know people have vendettas over it, you know, but I don't take that stuff seriously, man. But you know, I'll make things right with him. Yeah, he is for the youth. But you know, and that's just one thing. But you know, I ain't trying to change the youth because the youth's gonna believe what they're gonna hear. See, Hammer did a great example. He shouldn't have asked questions to Kuda like that. Therefore, I can't blame MLT for feeling that way that he feels about. Yeah, I don't blame him either. That's his view. I don't. That's his view. But how I look at the younger generation, see, I'm a millennial. It's totally different. They look at game as they need it now. But the tricking thing is bad too. Both of them are bad. I would say just be for enlightenment. See, when you talk about game, yeah, it's yourself and it's the women's the prize. I hate to say it. Platinum always uses shit. I want to tell him so bad, dude. You're saying the women's the prize. I think Gabe gave pushback to BOA, which is a great debate in that Ramil string. I think I posted on my community, and that he has some great questions about money, about the 35,000 to 1,000, and how you get that, how you be a boss and stuff like that. You know, I know where it's coming from. Gabe gave him some pushback, some great pushback, but MOT he has his little ways. I know where he's coming from. I've heard that before. So, but when you got guys going against it, I understand that was his crusade. That's what he wanted to do to show up Kuda, like who's better than who. But all you're gonna do is create more guys like them. See, that ain't gonna work. The best way to do is just ignore them, let them die off. It's kind of like you want to save kids from killing each other, tell them to stop doing it and show them instead of telling them. Because online it's not gonna do it. You got to actually talk to them. Because guys like Hammer is the problem. He listened to the wrong dudes. If he was on my channel, I tell him, dude, stop stirring up shit with Kuda and MOT, man. They used to have history. I don't know how cool they are offline. I don't know, but that's something they gotta fix. I mean, it's hard to get over, but you know, that's that right there. I'm not gonna get involved in. You know, I'm gonna stay out of it because that's between them two. Now, Anger Man, he escalated it, and that's how I got started. And Hammer triggered it because those are the two to blame for that. You know, they already had problems before, like Wacky saying, I agree with, but that's something they got to figure out. But Fantastic making it worse. Just, you know, and I try to tell MLT, stop listening to that nigga Fantastic, man. He don't care nothing about you. When it comes to politics on far right stuff, they start arguing like crazy. But you know, but I'm good. I'm good on that. So yeah, I gotta cut this off, yeah. All right, shouts out to Wacky World of O, Brother Badot. Who else came through? Look at this chat for a minute. Stingray Cool, Perfect Timing. Juan G's, She We Here, Gabe Abe, DS1, Sheep Stay Sleep TV, Third Eye First, and Queen of the South. All right. So with that, I want to say peace. He's Gen Z. Okay. And shalom. Yeah, that's a long live stream.